said, listen, I wasn't even thinking about you when I wrote that character. No one is all good or all bad, you know? I was listening to that song over and over again, and I was crying as I was writing it. If Hollywood doesn't want this, I don't know what I'm doing.
What's going on, guys? I'm your girl, Jamila Mustafa, and today I am taking you on a sexy, soulful, and a deep dive into the world of one of Black Hollywood's most iconic directors, who's now taking his literary leap with his debut of The Best Man, Unfinished Business. Please welcome the one, the only, and the incomparable, the inimaginable, and the dynamic Malcolm D. Lee to BET Talks.
All those things. Wow, okay, that's quite the intro. Thank you very much.
That's it. Come on.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the applause. I appreciate it, y'all.
I could have put about 4 or 5 more words on it, but I think we got the point.
You definitely got the point, no doubt.
I mean, the suit's doing the talking.
Oh, thank you very much.
So I want to dive into something just to have fun. Of course, we feel like we've known you for our whole lives, but it might be some things that we don't know about you. So we're just going to do this or that. I don't even want you to think. That's the whole purpose of the game.
Okay.
I'm just going to say it, and whatever comes to your mind, say it with your chest, okay?
I'm afraid.
Do you trust me?
I'm not sure yet. We're just meeting.
Do you trust BET?
Yes.
Okay, well then that's good enough. All right, you ready to do this thing?
Let's go.
Martin or Jamie Foxx?
Martin.
As by Stevie Wonder or I'm Your Puppet by the Soul
As.
Gang? Sugar or salt on your grits?
Salt.
Boots on the ground or the electric slide?
Electric slide.
Girlfriends or girls trip?
Girls trip. Sorry.
Read a physical book or listen to an audiobook?
Read.
Bourbon or tequila?
Bourbon. Come on. Come
Well,
on.
with that being said, I feel like I know you, all right?
Okay.
Undercover Brother, Girls Trip, Roll Bounce, The Best Man. I could go on and on. Your career, I mean, you haven't let your foot off the gas, but why now? Why is it time now to embark on the novel?
I have, for years, fantasized about writing a novel. It's a solitary kind of thing, and it's just me and the page. I've always had this fantasy about it, and I love the written word, and so I was like, well, here's an opportunity. Take some beloved characters that I know very well, that have backstory, and let's take them on a journey, because the fans of The Best Man were craving more, and I thought, okay, here's a way I can do it. Not only satisfy my fantasy about writing novels, but also to satisfy the fans, viewing public, and do it quicker than trying to gather all the actors back together.
Is it cheaper that way too? Because when you say quicker, I'm thinking about saving those dollars.
It's definitely cheaper, without a question. But I mean, that's not the reason to do it.
Yes, of course.
It's because it was a creative endeavor that I really wanted to try. I actually like writing, the long word, and being able to like dive into these characters, innermost thoughts, and be very intimate with them in a way
We're
that
gonna
we
talk
haven't.
about that intimacy, and you said something about fantasy. So we're gonna talk about intimacy and fantasy.
It's a fantasy to write. Okay, I'm not. Don't go, Jam. Don't take me there.
No.
Okay, I'm watching you.
We're all gonna be taken there in the book.
Oh
We're talking
yes,
about the
indeed.
book's fantasy.
Indeed.
Come on.
No doubt.
Now listen, when you talk about bringing this vision to life, one thing that I love about you and so many of your peers is that you work in a collaborative space, and
Yes.
you're not afraid to share the spotlight or share the moment in order to amplify. And so we gotta talk about, you tapped up with critically acclaimed author Jayne Allen. What was it about her that made you say, please join me on this mission?
When I was looking for a collaborator on this, I read a number of books. I loved her Black Girls Must Die series, and I loved her background. We have kind of a similar background. The private school, she went to Duke, I went to Georgetown. She's from Detroit, I'm from New York. Kind of similar sensibilities. And then she had this great background that was not exclusively as a writer. She had been an attorney, she worked in the music industry. But, with the key thing she said to me was, okay, why are you doing this? And I said, well, I want to exercise a new muscle and, try my hand at novel writing. She's like, no. Why are you doing this? I said, yeah, I explained. She's like, do you want to win? I said, huh. Yeah, I want to win. I always love to win. She's like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I want us to win, and I like that spirit, and I really wanted to have a woman's perspective. And even though these are characters that came out of me and came out of my brain, as we get older and get more involved, I don't have the experiences that Black women have, and so it was like she could be informative about some of the choices. And we definitely had some heated discussions about, what was right and what was the decision for Jordan or Robin, and I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. And then she said, well, Harper's got to do that. I said, no, he can't because he's a man, because da 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 da. So it was a great collaboration.
Every single character is like star-studded. There's a trilogy, and so this is not a one and done.
No.
This is something that's going to take us on that journey. But why did you choose to start with Harper, Jordan, and Robin? What was special about those three?
Well, I think obviously you got to start with Harper because he is the best man, right? And everything kind of centers around him. And plus, this love triangle has always been kind of like the apex and the crux of the story. So I figured making my foray into novels, these would be the three perspectives to have. So each chapter is from each of these characters' POV. And so it was important to see where they were now. I mean, post-divorce, Harper is very successful. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner. He's got money, living that bachelor life, but he's alone by and large. I mean, he has some visitors, but
the intimacy, physical he may have, is he getting emotional intimacy?
That's exactly right. That's what is lacking, and he feels kicked out of his life. He doesn't quite fit in with the friend group that he used to because he doesn't have Robin anymore. Robin is off in Ghana, living her best life. She's a restaurateur. She's raising their daughter. She's struggling a little bit just with the business side of it, the creative aspect of the culinary arts. She's very good at, but she's trying to figure out and navigate life there. And a pre-teenage daughter. Jordan has moved from New York.
She's gone.
Yeah, she's quit her job at MSNBC.
Physically, but mentally, she ain't all the way gone.
Well, she is pining away for the grind, right? It's all she's ever known is the grind and trying to find something that's hers. And she does have a little bit of pining for Harper as well. She had to move away from him for him to grow and for herself to not get stuck in his vortex.
You do a great job really balancing heartbreak and humor. Was it difficult for you to tap into those dramatic scenes that you need to kind of tell that story without having the lens? I
welcomed that challenge, you know what I mean? Brevity is not a good thing for me. Like I tend to be very verbose in terms of, my storytelling. My screenplays are always a little bit longer than they need to be. So I was like, okay, that all can't fit into the screenplay. So I was like, okay, having the opportunity to delve into people's minds, and you can get to do all five senses when you're writing a book. People get to smell things, they get to taste things, they get to feel things. So it's not just the spoken word and not just, tickling the funny bone. I really enjoyed that process of being able to really, dive deep in an intimate way that we haven't experienced with these characters before. We think we know them very well, but there's some backstory that people are really gonna be surprised by, I think.
Was there any character that we're gonna look at a little different? We know what Harper's on. We know what
Robin
is
Harper on?
He's toxic. He is.
I don't like the characterization. It's funny that
I know you don't like the label sleeping with. What are the streets saying? What are people saying?
I think that there was a lot of talk after the final chapters of who's the villain. I thought it was kind of disturbing actually that people were talking about Robin's the villain and Harper's the villain and no, it's really Jordan. I'm like, I didn't even know I had villains in this series. These are just people in my mind. No one is all good or all bad. I wanted to create layered characters that have faults and good things about them and things that are questionable. We all in our lives and as navigating society and navigating this life that we're in, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have bad judgment sometimes and have good judgment. No one is is going to be infallible. Are people going to be surprised? Probably. I think so. I mean, I think that there's stuff that we reveal that we haven't heard of before, from Harper and Robin's marriage, things that Jordan's thinking. We get to meet her parents in this iteration of the book. I think are going to be very refreshing for the fans. They think they might know everything, but they don't know everything. As the story dictates and as the characters dictate, it does continue. There's a cliffhanger at the,
You knew it. You know, I'm always getting hung over the cliff with you. We're always getting dangled, and I love it though. We love it here. We love it here. Now look, the brotherhood that you have comes beyond the pages, comes beyond the screen. These are friends that are gonna support each other. And so in order to create, as any actor, as any director, as any artist, it comes from some realness. Tell me about your friend group. What is that like?
Yeah, a lot of my...
scandals over there? I'm joking.
You're not joking. You are not joking. One of the impetuses for writing Best Man was not seeing true representations, or what I felt were true representations, authentic representations of Black men who were educated on the small and the big screen, right? Like they were very kind of one-dimensional, kind of depictions of sellouts, people who had forgotten, their ethnicity at the door. And that was not ringing true to me. When I went to Georgetown University, I had a great, bunch of guys that I met, men and women, grew friendships with that last to this day. The best man characters come from a real place. I mean, not any character is based on any one person in my life, even though there are people who think that they are. I've been told, I said, listen, I wasn't even thinking about you when I wrote that character.
They're
but,
trying to send you letters in the mail to your lawyers.
Right.
I know it's me.
Exactly. But, what's great is that, there's some relatability to all these characters. These are some characters that, over the past 25 years, people are very connected to. They feel very much part of their own friend group.
You had quoted John Singleton, and you said that, some advice, he said, nobody cared about your little movie. Was there ever a time where Malcolm D. Lee, nobody cared about your little movie, and how did you move past that to actually get it done to be here?
I've certainly been in a situation, countless times over my 25, 26 year career where I wanted to make something and it doesn't get made. I'm in that position right now. But with Best Man, I was very intentional about writing that movie for that time. I really liked doing ensemble movies. I really wanted to tell a story about black men. And so wedding movies were really popular at the time. And so I was like, I'm going to write a wedding movie and a wedding reunion with my college buddies. Now, I wasn't even trying to direct The Best Man the first time around. I was just trying to write something that I thought I could sell. And
you also starred in it as the MC.
I did not star. I will tell you right to this day, I wish I had cut that out.
I'm glad you didn't.
Well, I had hair then, so my hair is now immortal on that one movie.
But you did not want to direct.
Well, no, it wasn't I didn't want to direct.
Okay.
That wasn't the intention.
Yes.
The intention was to sell it so I could do another movie that I wanted to make, which I still haven't made to this day, right? It just so happened that in the midst of writing it, I was like, oh, I can direct this, so why not? Fortunately, it was the right script at the right time. And I tell everybody that.
Was it ever a time in terms of calling up your cousins, Spike Lee or any of the Lees?
I had written 5 screenplays prior to writing Best Man. And Spike had seen them all, right? And I got to work with Spike, being his assistant, being a production assistant for a number of projects.
So when did you start? Because that's 1999, so 5 scripts. So that would have had to be early 90s that you were 80s when you were doing.
My first script was in 92. I had to actually break my ankle to actually sit down to write it, to hit a deadline. I mean, I didn't do it on purpose.
Oh, you
but I'm
physically
just saying,
was.
I broke my ankle and I said, okay, because I wasn't making any traction with the screenplay, and I broke my ankle and it forced me to sit down and write the screenplay. Wow. And so it gave me an entry to a fellowship program. I went to film school, and I was trying my best to try to tell a good story. I mean, Spike had read my stuff and got me an agent, but nothing happened until I wrote Best Man. When I gave Best Man to Spike, I remember him saying, "This is it. This is the one," right?
I just got the goosebumps.
And by the way, I was like, whether he wants to do it or not, I think this is the one also. If Hollywood doesn't want this, I don't know what I'm doing. And I would have gone to law school or been a teacher or something.
I mean, that's not a bad backup plan.
It's not, but it's not the one I would have wanted.
When you've been able to tell a story for 20 plus years,
yeah.
How do you still continue to keep it fresh?
If you're talking about the Best Man franchise, there was talk of doing a sequel right afterwards, but I knew I didn't want to be a one-trick pony. I didn't want to, just have one story to tell. And plus, if I was going to do a sequel, it was going to be 10 years later, once these characters had a chance to live some life, once I had a chance to live some life. So, fortunately, you make a hit movie, they think you can do it again and again and again. And as long as you don't end up in director jail, which can happen.
Now, what is director jail?
Director jail is when you make a project so bad that people are like, we ain't working with him.
Wow.
It happens. We're in an era right now where the studios are making fewer things, they're taking less risks.
We know.
And so I think that it's important for young creatives to blaze their own trail right now and say, okay, I'm gonna create my own lane. Deciding to do Best Man Holiday, all this talk was happening about brands and what's your brand. So my brand was Best Man. We let them on a cliffhanger. We were able to do Best Man Final Chapters as a series rather than a third movie because streaming was so popular at that time. So I was like, okay, let's be expansive in our storytelling. And now I'm even more expansive in the storytelling with this first of a trilogy of books with the Best Man Unfinished Business. When you're having to ask studios and networks for money and approval and budgets, and you're trying to collaborate with actors and costume designers and directors of photography, it's a lot of people in the mix.
Yes.
And you are the the visionary for the project. But a lot of things can change that vision or alter that vision. And I just wanted to just write a book and just talk about these characters from a very pure and intimate place.
Which page And this first book made you shed a tear.
I can't tell you exactly what happens,
But
it is surrounding some backstory with Harper and Robin. I definitely am very emotionally invested in my characters.
You are?
We were shooting the scene with Harold and Regina, Candace and Murch, them coming to some kind of reconciliation after things surfaced about her past, and he didn't, talk to her about it, and their reconciliation definitely was like a tear-jerking moment. Obviously, when Mia passed, that was, one of those things as well. And then when Harper and Robin divorced, even when I was writing it and I knew I was going to be playing Gladys Knight's Neither One of Us Want to Be the First to Say Goodbye, I was very teary. I was listening to that song over and over again, and I was crying as I was writing it.
Wow. Do you prefer the pen or the lens?
It's both. I'm gonna tell you, and I'll tell you why. What happens is I write something, especially if it's gonna go for the screen. I'm writing something, and I'm like, okay, stop writing drafts. Let's get to the set and start shooting. And then when I'm on set, I'm like, I can't wait to get from around these people. I need to be done. There's too many people. I want to get back to writing. They work hand in hand.
Let's talk about Brotherhood. We got to talk about Sable Summers.
Yeah.
And so
don't sleep on Sable, okay? Sable Summer is here.
Don't sleep on Sable.
Don't sleep on. This is a perfect combination. Books and bourbon for the summer, okay?
And with your boys.
I know the ladies, black women in particular, have always supported.
What you doing, black woman with your hands up like that?
Always supported
brother,
me,
I didn't
right?
know that. Okay,
With the book clubs, they're gonna get together, they're gonna gather, they're gonna discuss. I want the same thing happen with the fellas. They don't tend to gather like that, right? I wrote the original Best Man for black men. And I think that gets lost a lot of times because so many women came to the party. One of the signature scenes of that movie was the 10-minute card game scene where the fellas are letting it all hang out. They talking freely, freshly, whatever. Whatever comes to their mind, they talking about it. And so that's one of the things I want people to remember when they're reading this book.
I can feel that you're taking back your ownership.
I'm just saying, and by the way, the fellas, you ain't got to read. You can listen. You can listen to the book.
Why choose to bring the best men in this together?
When it comes to Sable, this was Harold Perrineau's brainchild.
You're ambassador and you have ownership.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yes, we are owners, operators of
Black owned.
Yes, black owned Sable brand. So what happened was when the fellas got together, they always had some kind of brown spirit.
Yes.
Right? Harold was like, well, why don't we make our own? And I was like, that's a good idea. Why don't we? This is something that we came from the ground up. So it's a very pure endeavor. The juice itself, they call it the juice.
The juice.
So the juice, we tasted a number of juices, but this was the one that we thought,
yes.
okay, this was the taste the best. It's very smooth. It doesn't burn, right? But it's very strong. But it's also
I almost want to sip. I'm a guess.
You got to try some, all right? So everything from the packaging to the label itself. You look at that and feel that texture on it there, right? We've got the font, the name Sable itself. Also, it was like one of those things. It was like we all agreed upon everything. We wanted to bring that experience that people have watching The Best Man and bring it to you live. It's a great way to have bonding brotherhood.
This is what you talk about, a franchise, expanding our mind. It's not just one thing, movie after movie. We got the books, we got the Sable. Next up, the live action figures. Next up, y'all gonna be hosting actual weddings. You can get the Best Men live.
Hey,
come to your
Best Man cruises.
You are just incredible, remarkable, and this is really, to me, it's like your freshman year in the game. That's the energy that I'm feeling. What are your tips on pivoting in today's climate, no matter where you are in terms of the height or your career?
We all have to evolve. That just comes with growth and experience, and you never stop learning. And so I want to try different things. Anything that I think that I can be of service to and I feel like I can actually contribute something to, I want to do it.
Wow, so pivot with the purpose.
Absolutely.
I love it. Come on, now this is gonna be #1 like everything that you touch. This is The Best Man Unfinished Business. This is your debut novel. Malcolm D. Lee, BET Talks. Thank you for your time, brother.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
The pleasure's mine.
I appreciate it.
Now look, crack this open.